As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Karr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And with me right now, I've got a very special guest. He is a former WWE Intercontinental Champion, former Tag Team Champion, and Hall of Fame inductee class of 2004. I'm pleased to welcome the one and only Tito Santana. Welcome, Tito, to Wrestling with Heart.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here, and I like what you just said.
All right, I appreciate that very much. So you're from Mission, Texas. Talk to me about your childhood and upbringing.
Well, Mission, Texas is a little town way south of in Texas, 5 miles from the Mexican border. And I was brought up as, you know, speaking Spanish is my first language. I really didn't learn how to speak, you know, good English until I went to college.
But wow, I mean, I'd imagine, you know, it's hard to, you know, learn a new language at first because you got to get, you know, you're so used to, you know, speaking in your native tongue and then having to translate all that stuff. What was it like?
Well, it was, I used to be embarrassed, you know, because I had trouble with the CHs and the SH sounds. And, you know, I knew I had a strong accent, and, you know, I was kind of embarrassed. You know, you asked me how my upbringing was growing up in Mission. You know, my family, we were migrant workers, you know, and we used to, from the age of 7, we used to go from Texas to Minnesota, to Iowa, to Indiana, and we'd work on the fields. So I grew up the hard way.
Well, having that work ethic, I'm sure, instilled a lot of discipline and I'm sure prepared you for the world of professional wrestling. Was wrestling always something you grew up watching?
No, I wasn't a wrestling fan. I did know that wrestling came on like around midnight, but I was never awake to watch professional wrestling. So I had no idea what I was getting into. I just know that when I was in college playing football, Tully Blanchard, his father was a promoter in San Antonio, and that's where the interest in professional wrestling started. When I was a junior in college, that's the first time they mentioned to me that the father, Joe Blanchard, thought that I could have a great career in professional wrestling. And, you know, I had no clue. I was a good football player. I thought I was going to do good in football and play in the pros, but found out it was pretty tough once I got there, and gave wrestling a shot. And The rest is history.
Well, when you're playing football, I mean, a lot of football players go on to become professional wrestlers, as we know with The Rock and JBL and Ron Simmons and as many others. But I'm sure a lot of that, being on the gridiron helped prepare you for that lifestyle.
Oh, without a doubt, because professional wrestling needs athletes, and football players are athletes. We learn how to take punishment, punish the body, and the same thing happens in wrestling. People don't realize, but we do abuse our bodies quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's very intense whenever I've talked to people that talk about their training experiences. They talk about the workouts and the drills. It's a grind, and you have to really put your body through a lot, as you just said, a lot of punishment. Talk to me about your training experiences.
As far as weights or as far as the wrestling?
Everything, like the regimens
Well,
and
I started in 1977. Me and Tully Blanchard drove from San Antonio to Tampa, Florida, and Eddie Graham was the promoter there in Florida in Tampa. And I started training in the ring with a guy by the name of Hiro Matsuda. And they put you through the grind. I believe that their intention is to try to run you from the business, before they even smarten you up. They work you to death, till your tongue's hanging, and then they put you in the ring, and then they start wrestling with you, and then they do something what they call is they stretch you. So by stretch is they put you in holes that you have to give up, and they try to hurt you just enough to see if you are going to be worthwhile keeping, if you're going to be coming back. And I went through some hard workouts with Hiro Matsuda, and I kept coming back. And then after a while, they start taking it easier on you and start teaching you the business.
yeah, I mean, it is a lot of work, and you really have to want it to move up and up the ladder. And so, talk to me about some of the pieces of advice and words of wisdom that your trainers um, instilled in you, and stuff that you've applied to today, even outside of wrestling.
Well, when I first started wrestling, just working out, I used to go to the matches and just watch. The guys would tell me, just watch, be humble. And then once you start, go to other wrestlers and tell them to please watch your match and give you constructive criticism, because it's a very hard business to learn. Like I mean, I had to learn how to how to how to crawl before I started walking, and before I even started jogging, and before I started running. It was a process, like learning how to walk like a baby, because I didn't know anything about it. uh Taking those back drops, I couldn't believe that, I was getting flipped over and landing on my back, and flying out of the ring into the cement, learning how to fall on the cement. I used to be scared to death, because standing on the ring and looking down, it looked a pretty big drop, at the beginning. So, you're doing a lot of stuff as you're learning how to wrestle, uh, taking tackles, giving tackles, you know, taking bumps, slams, just hitting the ropes. You don't realize how hard those ropes are. After about 3 days of hitting the ropes, my right side, because you hit the with your right side, my lats were all purple, bruised up from the ropes. So we paid our dues. We did pay our dues, and it's a slow process to learn the business.
Yeah, I'd imagine, when you're looking at the canvas area and falling, especially like you're talking about falling like you're falling on cement. I mean, that is hard, you
Oh my
know.
God, yeah.
It really is, hard on the body. It's the wear and tear. You're taking all this punishment. Um, what was the biggest motivator for you as far as like keep going with everything?
Well, I almost quit, as a matter of fact, because I was working out. I was paying for an apartment. I wasn't making any money. I was just going to working out in the ring, working out, working out. I was sharing an apartment with Tully Blanchard, and we were splitting the apartment. Uh, and Terry Funk, I'm sure you're aware. There's a lot of guys that went to West Texas State that became professional wrestlers. And Terry Funk and Dory Funk, they were, a family that ran Amarillo. And Terry was the world champion, and he came into Tampa to wrestle Dusty Rhodes. And he called me into. He was a bad guy back then. They used to keep the good guys and the bad guys separated. So they called me. He called me uh, for somebody to take me to the dressing room where he was at, and he says, "How do you like it, my boy?" And I said, "Well, I'm enjoying it. I think I'm learning." I said, "But because I had signed a contract to go back to play football with the BC Lions, and I said, I think I'm just going to go home and I'm going to start training for football again." This was sometime in February. I'd been doing it like close to 2 months. And he says, "Don't do anything. Let me talk to Eddie Graham." He was the world champion, he had a lot of pool. This was on a Friday night. Saturday morning, Eddie Graham called me in, and he took me out to breakfast, and we had a long talk. And I guess he figured out that I was sincere about wanting to become a professional wrestler, and he gave me a few bookings, and I thought I was going to be making more money than what I was. There were some of the bookings that I went to where I spent more money than I was making, and I said, "Man, I think I'm in the wrong business." And but before you know it, I'm on my way to Atlanta to wrestle out of Atlanta, Georgia, and they gave me a $300 guarantee a week, which compared to what I was making in Florida, that was a blessing.
And you were part of so many memories with the WWE as well. Getting to work the first WrestleMania in the opening match. That is a huge, huge deal. Talk to me about what that experience was like.
Well, as a matter of fact, God bless his soul, Hulk Hogan and myself are the only two wrestlers who were on the first 9 WrestleManias. So the experience to be on WrestleMania 1, I don't know if you were a fan back then, but me and Greg Valentine had a real hot feud, and we were selling out arenas without Hogan being on the card. And I thought I was going to have a pretty good spot on WrestleMania 1. Come to find out, I was the opening match. And I was pretty disappointed, when I found out I was the opening match. But now, looking back, that was one of the best things that happened to me. It's a nostalgia question, and nobody can take that away from me. I was the first match, and I had the first victory on WrestleMania 1.
Why did you feel disappointed at the time?
Well, I just felt disappointed because I thought that me and Valentine should have been one of the main bouts that night. Valentine ended up wrestling JYD. And I don't know if you remember, if you watched WrestleMania 1, but he was on the third or fourth match, and they had a deal where I did a run in, and it kind of put a little bit of flames on the fire for me and Valentine to continue wrestling, in other cities.
I think there's something to be said about having that honor to open WrestleMania because they say like the two most important spots to be on the card are the opening match and the main event. And you got that honor to be the opener of the show. So it definitely is a good feeling. And like you said, you were there for the first 9. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it, right before I went through the curtains, WrestleMania 1, Vince McMahon came stood beside me, and he says, Tito, he says, the reason you are on the first match is because I need for you to get the people off their butts. He said, you're going to set the tempo for the night. And I completely changed my attitude when he told me that. I had a job to do, and I went out, and because I was over with the crowds, the crowd got with me pretty good. And, I had a different outlook on why I was the opening match. I realized that it was an important part of the night.
Yeah. And look what WrestleMania became, just such a phenomenon. 42 years still going strong. I mean, to be a part of that legacy, it's got to mean something.
Oh yeah, I mean it's I'm proud to be part of that.
Yeah. And you also got to win championships during your time in WWE, as we said at the early top of the broadcast. Intercontinental Champion, Tag Team Champion. Um, you got to wrestle a who's who of opponents during your time in the WWE. Who were some of your favorites?
Well, my first title win was in Boston at the Boston Garden against Don Morocco. I mean, Don Morocco was one of the best. He was a fantastic. And the reason that I got as good as I did is because I wrestled great opponents that I learned a lot from every time I stepped into the ring. So I wrestled against Don Morocco. I had the belt for about 8 months, and then I dropped it to Greg the Hammer Valentine. And me and Greg Valentine had the longest feud in the history of the WWF. We wrestled each other for everything included was close to 2 years. All over the country, even overseas, and we had fantastic matches. And we were drawing, selling out big arenas without Hulk Hogan being there because the people really got into our feud. I don't know if you remember, I had a surgery on my knee, and they filmed the surgery, and we talked about something that was real. The people were able to get into it and feel my pain and feel they wanted me to get Valentine. So eventually I got him in a cage match in Baltimore, got the title back. I had it again for another 8 months, and then I wrestled Macho Man Randy Savage in the Boston Garden, and I lost the belt to him then. And then I had the honor to team up with Rick Martel, and we were Strike Force. We won the tag team titles. That was my second round with the tag team. I was the tag team champion with Ivan Putski in 1979. So I had a great career in the WWF. I mean, when I left, I had been in the WWF longer than anybody else, including Hulk Hogan.
Wow, I mean, it's amazing. You get to see so many changes too. I mean, you were there for the iconic golden era, as well as seeing the rise of people like Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker and Diesel, and just see so many guys like on their way up. I mean, it's got to be an amazing feeling, like looking back and going, "Wow, I was a part of history."
Yeah, I mean, there were so many stars that were created there, and Vince McMahon. Let's face it, the guy knew what he was doing. He knew how to create a star. He knew how to push it, how to sell it to the crowd. And all of a sudden, selling all kinds of different merchandise all over the world, and we're going into different countries, and I mean, it was the growth from going from territory to territory, driving on your car to flying everywhere. It was something that it was hard for somebody like myself to even imagine, when I got started.
Yeah. How long were you wrestling for?
I wrestled full time. I started in 1977, and I retired from the WWF in 1993. And I continued to do independence for quite a few years after that, only on the weekends. There were some independent promoters that were running shows, and if you were a WWF star, they always put you on on the card, and and I was making pretty good money just working on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, it's for the love and the passion of the industry, and people still talk about all these classic moments that you were involved with. over the years. I want to switch gears now and talk about some of the stuff you've done outside of wrestling. I know that you were a school teacher for many years. Let's talk about that. What made you want to decide to get into teaching?
Well, it was my eighth grade coach. I told you I was a migrant worker. It was my eighth grade coach that got me into sports. He tried to get me to play football my eighth grade year, but I didn't have a clue. I thought we had to pay for our own equipment, for helmets, for shoes, for the pads. And I said, my mom, we're migrant workers. It's hard to, make a dollar working on the field. So my mom isn't going to give me money to buy football equipment. So I told him that my mom didn't let me. Well, the following year, I had an older brother that was going to play, and we had been working in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on the Cherries, and he was going to play football his junior year, which I was a freshman, and I came along with him. My mom, I had a brother and two sisters. My mom wanted at least the boys to get a high school education. So she sent me along with my brother. And my brother's first day of practice on football, I went along with him, and I ran into this coach again. He was walking with the freshman coach, and he introduced me to the freshman coach. And he says, if you can get this guy to play, he's going to be a good one for you. And the freshman coach was Coach Elsie, and he asked me, do you want to play, son? And I said, yeah. He says, well, be here at 7 o'clock in the morning, because we used to practice early because Texas, the weather's pretty hot in August. So I showed up, and that was the beginning. So I felt that it was, and he was the gym teacher in the middle school. I felt that he was one of the big reasons. So when I went to college, I graduated in 4 years with a teaching degree. I had a physical education with a Spanish minor, so I could teach gym or I could teach Spanish. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to help somebody the way the coach helped me. And when I left wrestling, my wife kept saying, you have a teaching degree. Why don't you teach? And finally, I went and got my licenses to be able to be a sub. I ended up being a sub for 2 years. I got hired full time in my hometown, and I ended up teaching for 26 years. And I know that I was a good teacher, and I helped a lot of young kids, boys and girls. I know they looked up to me, and I could relate to a lot of the kids who had hard lives.
26 years, what a run. I mean, got to work with so many students, and I'm sure you made a difference in their lives because kids are the future and they go through so much. They're struggling through a lot, and I know that they need that figure in their life to mentor them, when things are hard. And so, do you run into some of your former students? Or have you?
Yes, I do, because I live right in the town, and lately I've been running to more and more of my students, and they always, they always say good things about me when I see them. When you're a teacher and you're dealing with kids who come into the classroom uh, to make life miserable for the teacher, and you start digging into it a little bit more, you realize that these kids have no love at home. They have no home life. Some of them come hungry to school, and once you find out the reality, and you know that there isn't a parent that's going to help you uh, with the discipline, so you start a different approach, and I think I got pretty good at approaching the different kids, and I think I made a difference on quite a few kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to be there for them. You just never know what somebody's going through, especially elementary or middle school or high school student. And just at a flip of a switch, if they're having a bad day and you're there for them, it turns a 180 around, you feel good, and you're able to pay it forward to the next person.
Yeah, I mean the kids, even though they were middle school kids, they know if you really care, you're not going to fool those kids. I mean, they need a little love, and if you give them the love the right way, they know it, and they look for you, to guide them.
What was the most rewarding thing about being a teacher?
The most rewarding thing about being a teacher, as far as I'm concerned, was the fact that in the first place, you got to be able to have discipline in your classroom. And, not a lot of teachers, I knew a lot of kids that made life miserable for other teachers, that I had no problems with them in my classroom, because I sincerely believe that they knew that I cared for them. And, I would, I was teaching Spanish. Spanish is a different language. It's hard to learn, especially if you have uh, I used to get all the kids with learning disabilities, and I would tell them, just give me a little bit of effort, and before you know it, they come in with an attitude that they don't know Spanish, and then all of a sudden, they're getting into it and they're raising their hands, and that's what made me feel really good about being a teacher in the classroom, being able to get kids who had learning disabilities that that gave me the effort and participated in my classroom.
It's that extra push, that extra push, to get people to learn, finding ways to make learning fun.
Right.
Now, do your kids know about your past as a wrestler? Do you ever bring it up?
The students,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm the only celebrity in Roxbury. Roxbury is a small town. So, we'd have back to school, and my room, the parents were all wrestling fans. And, my room was completely packed every period, so the kids knew. And when I had a downtime, we had those big monitors on the wall. I used to play, some of my matches, and show some of my matches to the kids, and, they loved it.
Yeah, it's always amazing whenever you get to do, fun things with the students, being able to watch some of those classic moments. I know they get a kick out of it every time. Now, I know you go to the conventions a lot. You run into fans over the years that grew up watching you. I mean, when they come up to you, I mean, it's got to feel good knowing that you know, made a difference and were able to provide the fans with memories that they'll never forget.
Well, I do go to conventions, and I do get a lot of fans, and they always thanking me for their memories when they were for their childhood memories. They tell me, I used to watch it with my dad, my mom, my grandparents, and now they're bringing their own kids, and they're talking about I my first match, you wrestled so and so, and I was hooked. That doesn't get old, when you hear that you make a difference. And 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 the wrestling fan, I mean, they're passionate about the sport. They love wrestling, and the wrestling fans, they will spend their last dollar to go to a wrestling match.
Yeah, they're very passionate about the industry, and any chance that they get to meet their favorite wrestler, they'll go and they'll have a fantastic time. Someone that's been to several conventions, I've always enjoyed going and meeting my favorite wrestlers and being able to go and have those experiences. So I can definitely attest to that for sure. Now, do you keep up with the current product at all?
No, it's a completely different game. It's completely different. I'm not saying that they're not as good as we were, because they're still drawing big crowds, but the fans are I can't think of the word. They what the fans are growing up on is not the same wrestling that they watched.
It's changed. It's
Yeah,
evolved.
right. Yeah, and now there's more action. They are taking really really dangerous bumps. The injuries are serious, and the wrestlers are not as big as they were when I was wrestling. I was 245 pounds, and I felt real small in the dressing room. A lot of guys were 300 or above, back then.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed. But I think that the cool thing about this era is that you can go back and watch those old matches, in addition to watching the current matches, and so you get new fans that grow up watching your stuff.
Yeah, and the fans that are watching both, pretty much 100%, they come and tell me and tell the rest of us, legends. We're considered legends. They call us the legends, and they say, wrestling was better in your era. And I said, yeah, those were the good old days. The new fans, that what they know now, so this is what they like. Especially the young kids. They got their new heroes. They got the new people that they follow.
It's always good to have wrestlers, both past and present, to enjoy and like what they're doing. So you've definitely put a smile on people's faces and provided memories over the years that have gotten more people to check out the product and continue to watch. So, Tito, I want to say thank you for coming on to the show. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you and find out more about all the cool things you're doing?
Well, I'm on Facebook, and I have two groups. One is Tito Santana, Tito Santana. God, I can't remember. And then one's Merced Solis on Facebook, and I have quite a bit of followers. And I just joined another. I can't remember my brain is going blank. I can't remember what's another big place where you can
Instagram.
I'm on Instagram. I don't know how to use it, but I go in and check it out, from time to time. And once in a while, I post something and I apologize before I even post it because I might not be doing it right. But I'm learning a little bit at a time. I do sell merchandise. I have a new book, Don't Call Me Chico. They reach out to me on Facebook, or they text me and they give me their mail, and I have Venmo, or they can send me cash or check. I do have some T-shirts, and I do 8x10s. I do have fans that send stuff to me at home, and I'll sign personal items for them. So I'm still involved quite a bit, with the marketing of Tito Santana.
Yeah, man, I gotta keep it going. This has been wonderful, Tito. Again, thanks so much, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you so much. You are very knowledgeable, and I enjoyed this interview very much. And I'm sure your fans are going to enjoy it just as well.
I hope so too. Thanks so much.
Arriba!
Bye-bye.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.